My name is Chika, and I live in the quiet village of Umuokoro. Life here is simple. We farm, we fetch water, we cook, and we pray. Our village church, St. Mary's, has always been the heart of our community. So, when we heard that a new Reverend Father was coming, everyone was excited. Father Obinna arrived on a sunny morning. He was tall, with a calm voice and a kind smile. He greeted everyone warmly and quickly became loved by all. He visited the sick, helped the poor, and his sermons were powerful. People said he was a gift from God. But I noticed something odd. Father Obinna was always around children, especially babies. He would often volunteer to watch them during Mass, saying he wanted the mothers to focus on the service. At first, it seemed kind. But then, strange things began to happen. One Sunday, after Mass, Mama Ifeoma couldn't find her baby, Adese. Panic spread through the church. We searched everywhere. After a tense hour, Father Obinna emerged from the rectory holding Adese, claiming she had wandered off. Everyone praised him for finding her. But I saw the fear in the baby's eyes. I began to watch Father Obinna more closely. Weeks passed, and more incidents occurred. Babies would cry uncontrollably after being with Father Obinna. Some had unexplained bruises. Mothers began to whisper among themselves. But no one dared to accuse a man of God. Then, one evening, baby Nika disappeared. Her mother, Ngozi, had left her in the church nursery during evening prayers. When she returned, Nika was gone. The village was thrown into chaos. We searched the entire area, but there was no sign of the baby. Father Obinna led prayers for Nika's safe return, his voice filled with emotion. But something felt off. His eyes didn't match his words. I decided to investigate on my own. Late one night, I sneaked into the church. I had noticed that Father Obinna often disappeared into a room behind the altar. The door was always locked, but that night, it was slightly ajar. Inside, I found a small, dimly lit room. There were strange symbols on the walls and various items that didn't belong in a church. Candles, herbs, and what looked like bones. Suddenly, I heard footsteps. I hid behind a curtain as Father Obinna entered, carrying a small bundle. He placed it on the table and began to chant in a language I didn't understand. I realized then that Father Obinna was not who he claimed to be. The next day, I told my friend, Amaka, what I had seen. He was skeptical but agreed to help me gather evidence. We decided to set a trap. During the next Mass, Amaka would distract Father Obinna while I searched the hidden room. Our plan worked. While Father Obinna was occupied, I entered the room and took photographs of the strange items. I also found a list with names of babies, including Nika's. We took the evidence to the village chief. A meeting was called, and Father Obinna was confronted. He denied everything, claiming the room was used for special prayers. But when we showed the photographs and the list, the villagers turned against him. Father Obinna tried to flee but was captured and handed over to the authorities. With Father Obinna gone, the village tried to return to normal. But the scars remained. Nika was never found, and many mothers were left with unanswered questions. The church was closed for a time, and a new priest was eventually assigned. He worked hard to rebuild trust within the community. As for me, I couldn't forget what had happened. I continued to investigate, hoping to find clues about Nika's whereabouts. One day, while exploring the forest near the village, I found a small, worn-out shoe. It looked like it belonged to a baby. I picked it up, my heart heavy with hope and fear. The shoe I found was tiny, old, and dirty, but something told me it was Nika's. I stood there in the forest, holding it tightly. The trees around me felt strange, like they were watching me. The wind started blowing hard, and I heard something that made me freeze, a baby crying. I followed the sound. My legs were shaking, but I couldn't stop. Deeper and deeper into the forest I went, until I reached a strange hut made of palm fronds and mud. The crying was louder now. I pressed my ear to the wall. It wasn't just one baby. There were many. I pushed the door slowly. It creaked loud. Inside, there were small mats, baby clothes, and feeding bottles. But no babies. Just silence. Then I heard a stick snap behind me. I turned around and saw a woman. Her eyes were red, and her face looked tired. She asked, "Who are you? Why are you here?" I told her everything. She looked at me, then said, "You're not the first person to look for a baby here. But if you want answers, you need to leave now. They're coming." "Who is coming?" I asked. But she didn't answer. She pushed me out and locked the hut behind me. I ran. That night, I couldn't sleep. My dreams were filled with babies crying and the woman's red eyes. In the morning, I went back to the place with Amaka. The hut was gone. Like it never existed. Only the shoe was still there. We marked the ground with stones and palm branches, so we could come back later. But the moment we did that, an old man walked up to us. He was the oldest man in our village, Papa Ndu. People said he knew things from long ago. He stared at the ground and said, "This place is cursed." Long before Father Abina, there were others. Men who wore holy clothes but had dark hearts. They took babies, just like this one. We asked him what happened to the babies. He looked away and whispered, "They were used for power." My stomach turned. We begged Papa Ndu to tell us more. He took us to his hut and closed the door tightly. "There is a group," he said. "They wear the face of holy people, priests, pastors, even healers. But at night, they gather. They take babies and offer them to something evil, something not from this world. It gives them money, power, respect. But in return, it needs innocent souls." I asked, "Was Father Abina one of them?" Papa Ndu nodded slowly. "He was. And if the baby is not found soon, the next moon will seal the curse forever." I looked at Amaka. We both knew what that meant. We had to act fast. We told the village chief what we had learned. But he didn't believe us. He said we were making stories. So we went to the one person who might help, Mama Chanae, the herbalist. She lived at the edge of the village. Her compound smelled of roots and smoke. When we arrived, she looked at us like she had been waiting. "I know why you're here," she said. "The forest told me." She gave us a powder and said, "Rub this on your faces. It will hide you from them. But it only lasts till dawn." "Who are the?" Amaka asked. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "You will see tonight." That evening, we went back to the marked ground. We waited in the shadows. At midnight, they came. 10 men in black robes. One of them was Father Abina. I felt my heart stop. They stood in a circle and lit black candles. They placed something on the ground. It was a baby, wrapped in white cloth. I looked closer. It was Nika. She was asleep or maybe drugged. They started chanting. The wind picked up. Trees bent as if afraid. One of the men brought out a sharp object. I was about to scream. But Amaka covered my mouth. "Not yet," he whispered. Then, something strange happened. The woman from the hut appeared again, the one with red eyes. She walked into the circle. None of them saw her. She lifted her hand, and the wind became louder. The candles blew out. The men screamed. We ran toward the baby. I grabbed Nika and ran as fast as I could. Behind me, I heard the woman's voice say, "Your time is over, Abina." When we reached the village, it was still dark. But we had the baby. Nika was safe. For now. The morning sun came slowly. But it didn't feel warm. It felt like something was watching us. We took Nika to her mother, Mama Elle. She cried and held the child tight, kissing her over and over. But even as she smiled, her eyes kept darting to the window. "Something is wrong," she whispered. "She's cold, but sweating. Her eyes are open, but she doesn't blink." We didn't know what to say. We had rescued the baby, but maybe, we were already too late. Mama Chanae arrived an hour later. She took one look at Nika and said, "The child was used in the beginning of the ritual. The bond has started. That priest tied her to something dark. If we don't break the link, she'll grow up cursed." I asked what the curse was. She looked straight at me. "Every child they take, if returned alive, becomes a doorway. Spirits can pass through them. She won't be normal. And the one who tried to use her will come back, again and again." I felt fear crawl up my back. That evening, we saw a shadow outside the window. But when we opened the door, there was nothing there, just the sound of a bell, ringing slowly in the distance. The bell didn't stop. Every night for the next 3 days, we heard it. A slow, deep sound like the bell in the Catholic Church. But the church was locked, and no one had the keys anymore. On the 4th night, Mama Chanae told us to follow the sound. She handed us small charms to hold in our hands and warned us not to speak, no matter what we saw. We followed the bell through the village path and into the bush, then into the thickest part of the forest. At the center was an old, broken church. It looked abandoned, but the door was open. Inside, we saw Father Abina, alone. He was kneeling on the ground, whispering to something we couldn't see. Suddenly, he turned and looked right at us. "I knew you'd bring her back," he said. We froze. He stood up and walked toward us. But Mama Chania appeared behind us. She threw a powder into the air, and the whole place began to shake. Father Abina screamed and vanished into the shadows. But then we saw something worse, another baby, wrapped in cloth, lying on the altar. Nika wasn't the only one. We stood there in shock. There were 2 more babies in the back room, sleeping like Nika had been. Mama Chania told us, "This place is older than we thought. They've been doing this for years. These are the ones who weren't missed. Orphans, strangers, children from faraway villages." We took the babies out one by one. They were weak, but alive. The bell had stopped ringing. We thought it was over. We were wrong. Back in the village, strange things started happening. Animals stopped entering the market square. Babies wouldn't stop crying. And one night, Nika opened her mouth and spoke clearly, though she was barely 1 year old. She said, "He's still here." After that night, things changed. Nika began speaking in different voices. Sometimes she spoke in a man's voice. Other times, she would laugh in the dark when no one said anything funny. Her eyes would go black, and she'd point to places no one could see. Mama Elle was losing her mind. "My daughter is not normal," she cried. We called Mama Chania again. "This is not Nika anymore," she said. "The spirit of the Reverend Father entered her before the ritual was stopped. If we don't remove him, he will grow with her." We needed help from outside. That night, we went to the next village to meet Dibia Okafor, an old spiritual man people said could speak to the dead. Dibia Okafor was a strange man. He lived in a house filled with bones and feathers. He welcomed us like he already knew why we came. "Nika is not cursed," he said. "She is a key." He placed her on a mat and began to chant. Suddenly, Nika started screaming. Her small body rose into the air. Her eyes rolled back, and a voice came from her mouth. "You shouldn't have come. It was Abina. You broke the ritual. But you can't break me," the voice said. "She belongs to me." The wind inside the hut howled. The fire in the corner went out. Dibia Okafor threw a black powder at Nika, and she fell to the floor. She was breathing fast, her little chest moving up and down. "She has one more chance," he told us. "You must return to where he was made, the village he came from. Only there can his spirit be sent away." We asked where. He said one word: Abel, a village we had never heard of. Abel. We asked every elder we knew. None of them wanted to talk. Some even acted like we had said something dirty. One old man, Pa Dyke, finally pulled me aside. "You want to die," he whispered. "That village is cursed. It was wiped off the map years ago." We pressed him. He told us that Abel used to exist deep in the forest, near the river with no name. It was a village of priests and herbalists. But one day, something happened, something nobody understood. All the children went missing. The adults went mad. The whole village was swallowed by the ground. They say only one child escaped, a boy named Abina. Yes, that Abina. The Reverend Father. We didn't want to go. But Dibia Okafor told us that if we waited, the spirit would grow stronger. Nika would lose her body completely. So we went. It was me, Mama Chania, Dibia Okafor, and Mama Elle. We left at dawn, carrying charms, water, and food. The forest was quiet at first, but the deeper we went, the more we felt like something was following us. Birds didn't sing. Trees looked like they were watching us. And then we saw it, a broken wooden sign buried under vines. Abel. We had arrived. There was no real village anymore. Just huts covered in moss, shrines broken and buried, and bones. So many bones. We laid Nika in the center of what used to be the village square. Dibia Okafor drew a circle around her with white chalk and asked us not to cross it. He lit a fire, poured red oil into a calabash, and began calling on the spirits of the land. Nika woke up screaming. But it wasn't her voice anymore. "I was born here," the spirit shouted through her. "You were made here," Okafor replied. "And here, you'll end." Suddenly, the ground shook. A shadow rose from the old shrine, a tall figure with no face, wearing a black priest's robe. It walked toward Nika. Mama Elle tried to run, but the fire rose high and blocked her. The ritual had begun. The fire turned blue. The wind howled. The spirit of Abina laughed and screamed at once. "You think old magic can touch me," he said. But Dibia Okafor was ready. He pulled out a bone wrapped in cloth and threw it into the flames. The spirit screamed. Nika's body shook. Then Okafor took a knife and cut his own palm. letting blood drop into the fire. Return to where you came from, he commanded. There was a loud cry. The trees bent backward. Nika passed out. The spirit vanished. We thought it was over. But then Nika opened her eyes and said, he left. But not alone. We brought Nika home. She was quiet, peaceful, almost too peaceful. The babies we rescued slept well now. Mama Elle smiled again. The village started to heal. But one morning, as I walked past Nika, I saw something. A mark behind her ear. A small, black cross. I asked Mama Chinaya what it meant. She sighed. It means he left something behind. A part of him. A seed. One day, it may grow again. So we wait. We watch. We pray. Because sometimes, evil doesn't die. It only sleeps. It wasn't long before strange things began to happen again. Quiet things. Little things. The kind of things that make you feel watched. Nika seemed fine at first. She spoke like herself, laughed like herself. But I caught her staring out into the forest for hours, as if waiting for something to return. She never spoke about the mark behind her ear. Then, the villagers started to see it too. One morning, it was Chijiak, the hunter, who came running into the village. They've seen him, he cried, his voice breaking. Out there, in the woods, moving with the children's shadows. I didn't understand at first. He was frantic, shaking. I know it's him. The priest, Abina. Chijiak gasped. The wind howled outside. Chijiak kept saying that the shadow of the priest had followed him since the night we had done the ritual. That, in the woods, he had seen the spirit in human form, watching with dark eyes, staring at the children. I could feel the blood drain from my face. But no one spoke. We all waited, too afraid to ask. Days passed. No one spoke much anymore. The laughter in the village felt strained, and the children didn't play as they used to. They stayed close to their mothers, whispering to each other in hushed tones. Then, one evening, a heavy knock came at the door of Mama Chinaya's house. She opened the door, and there he stood, Abina, the man who had once entered our village as a priest. But now, his eyes glowed a sickly, yellow-green. His robe, blackened with what looked like ash, fluttered in the wind. His hands were covered in dirt and blood. We stood frozen. Mama Chinaya screamed and backed away. He stepped inside without a word, his face expressionless, as if nothing had happened. He walked toward Nika, who was still sitting in the same place, by the window, staring into the forest. Her eyes locked onto his, and for a moment, I thought she was going to smile. But then, her expression changed. It grew twisted, like she saw something we couldn't. Her body trembled. The mark behind her ear began to burn. What do you want? Mama Chinaya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Abina didn't answer. He didn't need to. He reached out a hand toward Nika, and she stood without hesitation, walking toward him, her eyes unfocused. I tried to stop her, but my body wouldn't move. My legs felt like stone. The moment Nika touched his hand, the air went cold. A wind like no other swept through the house, carrying whispers, and the smell of decay. Not again, I whispered. The night grew long. We couldn't sleep, couldn't speak. We could only listen as Nika and Abina sat together in the corner of the room, speaking in low, guttural tones, as though they were plotting something. I didn't understand their words. But what I understood clearly was the change in Nika. She wasn't the girl I had known. She wasn't even human anymore. Her voice was different, as though it belonged to someone, or something, else. The villagers gathered outside, whispers growing louder. They could sense the evil. And then, as the clock struck midnight, something unimaginable happened. The floor beneath our feet began to shake. Abina and Nika stood, their hands still clasped. The mark behind Nika's ear burned brightly, lighting up the room like a beacon. Now, you will all understand, Abina said. His voice was not his own. It was the voice of many. The voice of the forest, of the darkness that lurked beneath the earth. The ground trembled harder, and suddenly, the door flung open. A black fog poured in from the outside, thick and suffocating. No one leaves, Abina commanded. He raised his hands, and the fog swirled around the room like a living thing, swallowing everything. The villagers who had come to warn us stood frozen in place, unable to speak, unable to move. I screamed for help, but no one could hear me. And then, as quickly as it had come, the fog disappeared. The house was silent. When the fog cleared, we saw the faces of the children, the ones we thought had been lost forever. They were standing in the doorway, staring at us with empty eyes. I knew then what had happened. The village of Elle, the village swallowed by the earth, had not disappeared. It had been hidden, trapped in the darkness, waiting to rise again. The children of Elle had never left. They had only been waiting. Abina smiled, and in that smile, I saw nothing but darkness now. They are mine again, he said, his voice echoing. The children slowly walked toward us. But they weren't children anymore. Their faces were twisted, their bodies contorted in unnatural ways. They weren't human. Not anymore. And neither was Nika. We tried to escape, but the walls closed in. The door was gone. The windows were sealed. We were trapped. Abina stood at the center of the room, his hands raised, commanding the children to surround us. No one leaves, he repeated. No one ever leaves. The world grew dark again. But this time, it wasn't just the fog. It was the darkness of everything. The darkness of Elle. And it was closing in on us. The village of Umuokoro was cloaked in an eerie silence. The once vibrant community now lived in fear, whispers of the Reverend Father's dark deeds spreading like wildfire. Elder Nadi, the village's oldest and wisest, called for a gathering beneath the ancient Iroko tree. We must confront the darkness that has befallen us, he declared. The child taken holds a destiny intertwined with our own. The villagers, the fearful, nodded in agreement. A plan was set in motion to uncover the truth and rescue the innocent. A group of brave villagers, including the young hunter Abina and the healer Amara, set out towards the forbidden forest where the Reverend Father was last seen. The path was treacherous, with twisted roots and haunting sounds echoing through the trees. As night fell, they set up camp, sharing tales of courage to bolster their spirits. Amara spoke of ancient rituals that could protect them from malevolent forces, and they performed these rites under the moonlit sky deep within the forest. The group stumbled upon a hidden sanctuary, its walls adorned with symbols of both Christian and traditional African beliefs. Inside, they found the kidnapped child, cradled in the arms of a statue that bore the Reverend Father's likeness. Suddenly, the statue's eyes glowed, and a voice boomed, "You dare challenge the will of the divine?" The villagers stood their ground, reciting prayers and incantations passed down through generations. The sanctuary trembled, and the statue cracked, revealing the Reverend Father, now a twisted figure consumed by his own darkness. A fierce battle ensued, not of physical might but of spiritual strength. Abina and Amara led the villagers in chants that resonated with the very soul of the forest. The Reverend Father writhed, his form flickering between man and shadow. With a final, unified cry, the villagers unleashed a wave of pure light, engulfing the dark figure. The sanctuary collapsed, and the forest sighed in relief. The child, unharmed, opened his eyes and smiled, a symbol of hope and resilience returning to Umuokoro. The villagers were met with tears of joy and songs of celebration. The child was named Chinidu, meaning God leads, a testament to the divine guidance that had brought him back. Elder Nadi addressed the village. Let this be a lesson that evil can wear the mask of righteousness. We must always seek the truth and protect the innocent. From that day forward, the story of the Reverend Father's deception and the villagers' bravery was told to every child, ensuring that the lessons of vigilance, unity, and courage would never be forgotten. The end.